minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Cicilline, Ranking Member Buck, and members of the committee. Thank you for the distinct honor of appearing before you today. My name is William Tong. I am the Attorney General of the state of Connecticut, and on behalf of the people of our great state, I'm here to urge you to stop the abusive practice known as non-consensual non-debtor releases. In other words, an abusive practice by which people who are not in bankruptcy, who are not bankrupt, who use the bankruptcy process to secure releases for themselves and to avoid liability for their own misconduct. I don't have to tell the members here that the opioid and addiction crisis is ravaging states and communities across the country. Apart from the COVID pandemic, this is the worst public health crisis in America. To Connecticut, that means we lose more than 1,300 people a year and rising, more than $10 billion a year in damage to our state. That's 1,300 families wrecked by the opioid and addiction crisis. Across the country, almost 100,000 families share this fate, and we've seen more than $2 trillion in damage. I have the unfortunate distinction of being the home state attorney general for Purdue Pharma and many of the members of the Sackler family who are responsible for this crisis. And that's why in December of 2018, Connecticut sued Purdue Pharma and the Sacklers. Now, importantly, we focused on the Sacklers for their direct participation in helping to cause the addiction crisis and for telling lies that have made people sick and has gotten them killed. They turbocharged the sales of OxyContin, a molecule very similar, almost identical to heroin. They tell lies about opioids, saying that they're not addictive. They tell lies about victims, saying that their addiction is their fault. They push long-term use. They cover up for doctors who overprescribe, and they cover up for pill mills. They sell lies like pseudo-addiction, where they say that the reason why people get addicted is because they don't have access to enough opioids. And if they just had more drugs, they wouldn't get addicted. And after causing widespread addiction, they attempted to profit off of that addiction by offering therapies to confront addiction and to help people get off of their addiction to OxyContin. And so Connecticut sued the Sacklers, exercising our state's police power to protect the public health and lives of our residents. These claims are essentially identical to those of our sister states. In 2019, the company, Purdue Pharma, declared bankruptcy. But importantly, the Sacklers did not, because they are not bankrupt. No one believes for a second that the Sacklers do not have any money. By conservative estimates, they've taken out at least $11 billion from the sale of OxyContin, and they are growing wealthier by the minute. The Sacklers personally have no basis to seek the protections of the bankruptcy court. If they were bankrupt, then all of their money, all of their assets would be in the control of the bankruptcy court, and the court could decide to distribute those assets to help thousands, if not millions, of victims and their families. Now, even though the Sacklers are not bankrupt, they've used the bankruptcy court to stop states like Connecticut from going after them and holding them accountable. And they want us to agree to a deal in which the Sacklers pay $4.2 billion over 9 years. Now, let me put that in perspective in case $4.2 billion sounds like a lot of money. Over 9 years, if you assume the Sacklers have made at least $11 billion in ill-begotten gains, if they pay $4.2 billion over 9 years, that means they'll pay less than 5% on their money every year. They'll more than cover that 5% on the investment income in their offshore accounts. And not a single one of them will have to sell a house or a boat or a piece of art or jewelry. And if we don't agree, and that's why I'm here today, the Sacklers want the court to force us to accept this deal and to force sovereign states like Connecticut to release our claims against the non-debtor Sacklers. This is an outrage. Connecticut is exercising its sovereign police powers against the Sacklers. No court in this country has ever held that a court may force a sovereign state to release its police power claims against a non-debtor. To permit non-debtors to abuse the bankruptcy process like this is an outrage, and Connecticut strongly encourages you to stop this abuse. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney General. I now